Good evening, what is happening YouTube? Thanks for stopping back by the channel today, right here with the Therustbeltmechanic. So we're going to have a little bit of a one-on-one session here today, talking to a lot of the new mechanics coming into the industry. A buddy of mine called Junk From Work, who also has a channel here on YouTube, I will put a link to his channel down in the description below, did a video this last week on his top 5 reasons for becoming a, I guess, better human being or a better adult. So I kind of want to roll that one into something for new technicians as my top 5 reasons for becoming a good technician here in the industry. Hopefully you guys enjoy these. For the new technicians coming in, these are just my points on how to become a good or a better mechanic. If I was myself giving advice to a younger me, this is the kind of stuff that I would want to know ahead of time before even getting into this career. Now, I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of things that are really in depth on the way of like tool buying or what to do if you're in debt or not to be in debt. No, I'm not going to go into any of that stuff. Already, if you haven't seen Junk From Work's video, make sure you check it out. He goes through quite a few of these different things. First on my list is going to be someone who has drive and someone who has self-determination. You are the type A personality here in the shop that is able to go through and go and get the work when it is really needed to. You are not going to be hand-fed anything here in this life, especially not here in the technician world. You really need to be able to go and get what you want. And that happens to be relevant for a whole lot of different areas. Every day in the shop, you're working flat rate, especially if you're working flat rate, you need to have the want and the drive to go get more work, to get this job done, to be able to get through to the next job and work your way through your work week. If you don't, you're going to end up falling behind, and being behind at the end of the work week, it just plain sucks and it stresses you out to nobody's business. You're going to want to drive yourself to go get more certifications, which kind of leads me into my number 2, but you're going to want to be able to be the best in the industry. If you don't have the drive to be the best in the industry, then kind of what are you doing in it? If you don't have the drive to be the best, then you got the drive to be the most mediocre. I don't see the point in that one. So make sure you have the want and the drive to make this job a career for yourself. That point kind of leads me into my number 2. Number 2 would have to be training or any kind of further training in the career. When I first started out, I really didn't know a whole lot about the automotive world. I knew how to change the spark plugs on my Trans Am. I knew how to, check the tires, do an oil change. My dad was able to, at least well-verse me in those areas enough to know enough about cars and how to take care of one in general maintenance myself. But I didn't really know a whole lot about electrical or diagnostics or anything communication for that matter. And I did go to school for the Chrysler CAT program at Sinclair Community College in Dayton, Ohio. Now, you also have to think that furthering on in your career, there's going to be a lot of changes in the industry. These cars, they change literally every single year. There is not one single model year vehicle that doesn't do an upgrade or a change, a model, kind of different version of some kind from year to year. Most of the time, they're going to be upgrades in engine specs, diagnostics, electrical sense, communication, features, and you have to get training on all these brand new things every single year. For each year that you don't do those updates and training is a year that you fall further behind the guy who really wants to be the best in the industry and wants to have that drive to be able to learn about these new vehicles, the new electronics, the new gadgets and gizmos that come in these cars. The more knowledge you have, the more power you have, and the more power you have is the better bargaining chip you have for making more money in this industry in the long run. Now let's change gears a little bit and go into the actual shop life. Once you have acquired your job, you're here working, you've kind of come to an understanding what you are supposed to do and that you have the drive to be able to do it, go get that training, get the certifications and whatever you're going to need. Now you have to think about your everyday life and your everyday job. One of the biggest, most efficient things that a technician can do is to have cleanliness and organization. That's the number 3, cleanliness and organization. If you do not have that, it is something that you lose efficiency on very, very highly. So I would say that it's not 100% known, but in generality, I've met a lot of technicians in this field, and the majority of the technicians that I have found, the ones who are efficient, they're really good at their job, they're go-getters, they make a lot of money, they're all clean and efficient. They have their tools well stored, well placed. They know where everything is at. Everything is taken care of. They're not wasting money on broken things and broken tools all the time because they are just gunked full of caked mud and nastiness. Now, I'm not saying that is a be-all, end-all, and there are some mechanics who work in the mud and do some nasty stuff to make a lot of money. But I'm just talking in generality here in the automotive field. From what I've seen, the guys who are more efficient are the ones that make more money. To be more efficient, you need to know where your stuff is. You need to know that it's well taken care of, and you need to know that it's going to work every single time you get that tool out. Now, that doesn't just go for your tools, but that goes for shop tools as well. If you don't own your own shop, you work in a dealership like I do, taking care of your shop tools is going to be really high on that priority list, because if for some reason your rack stops working because you had something underneath of it, you crushed it and something went wrong with the rack, or everyday shop stuff like the AC machine isn't cleaned off, hydraulic pumps aren't taken care of or stored properly, you're going to lose efficiency, because the next time you go to use that shop equipment or machine, you're going to be looking for a broken tool and you're going to get pissed off and things are not going to work. You're going to be way behind in the game. So in the long run, it might take you a couple of extra minutes after you're done with your job to either clean up your tools, organize your station, clean up your floors, become more efficient, and things will work out a whole lot better in your everyday job. Number 4 on my list kind of goes more into the shop's inner workings, how you function with other people, how you function, just with your job. My biggest point of advice for new technicians who aren't really sure their place in the shop is going to be my number 4 thing, and that is don't become a follower. Don't become a follower by any other technician standards. Be your own person. And now that doesn't go just for in the shop. You should be that way in everyday life. You should not be a follower. Yes, that does not mean don't take advice from anyone, because there's a lot of guys in this industry who have been through a lot more stuff than you have, and they may have some really good advice to give for you. However, take that advice with a grain of salt and do your own research. Check through everything that you can find. You have, just like my buddy Junk from Work said, the largest database of human existence and knowledge at the touch of your fingers in a phone or a computer or a laptop or something. You have the availability to look up data information like we never have before in human history. Why would you only take the advice of, say, just YouTubers or other guys in the shop? I would say make sure you do your own research and own organization to whatever you're going to be doing here in your daily life. Now, that goes for just about everything that you do during the day, making sure that you're looking at your clock times, making sure you're doing things efficiently, and making sure you're doing things the right way. There might be some really bad habits that some older technicians might be pointing you towards just because it's more efficient and you make more money flat rate. Have some self-integrity to that. Just because these other technicians go out onto the truck, buy fancy new tools, get into a big mound of debt, does not mean you have to follow them down that road. Don't follow them down the road just because that's the new fancy shiny thing that you're seeing or whatever you see on the internet. Make sure you stick in your lane and you can see what you are doing. Keep yourself motivated, and just in general, Don't be a follower to these other guys who may have really bad decision-making processes themselves. Make sure you look into things for yourself. Which is also my fifth and final thing, is to make sure that you have integrity in what you do. Now, self-integrity with the newer generation that I'm seeing coming out of, say, high school and maybe even some tech trade colleges is pretty abysmal. They do not have a self-integrity standard to be able to build on. Now, that may or may not be the term of millennial coming into the industry here, but I think a lot of that has some derivative to how they were raised. A lot of these guys, they didn't start out when they were 14, 15 years old as, jobs or as cooks in a freaking restaurant or in a shop getting muddy and dirty with their parents. No, a lot of them came from a lot softer upbringing, and they're, thinking they want to be cool and get into the tool or into the automotive trade. You need to come at these guys a little bit different, and you need to be able to give them some point of, fathering or teaching, training in the point of having integrity in what you do. These kids are coming out of school without a knowledge of how to work hard in the industry, and this industry is all about working hard. Not just working hard, but having a passion, having integrity in everything you do. Each job that you do, yes, and for most guys, you are on the flat rate system, but that does not mean you need to cut corners. For every corner that you cut is the crappier the picture looks in the very end. Going through your everyday job here is a big thing on your self-worth. Self-worth is something that is derived early on in your childhood. You feel good about what you do, and that is the biggest part of integrity. If you have integrity in your job, you do what you're supposed to do and don't cut corners, it is the biggest, best feeling in the world. Having a vehicle leave this shop knowing it's fixed right, and knowing that it's not going to come back. If you don't have that feeling every single time an automobile, a truck, a van, a lawnmower, whatever leaves your bay, then you're doing something wrong. If you have that bad gut-wrenching feeling down below, just saying that, I don't really feel great about how that's working, you probably did something wrong, or you cut a bunch of corners. And secondly, if you don't have that feeling when, I made some corner cuts or something, you've got something really wrong internal, and you need to rethink how you're going about this job. If you have a bunch of comebacks, if you have people saying that, I didn't really like how this was done, or my vehicle was left dirty afterwards, or I had this thing come back on, this light come back on after a week, maybe there was something that you didn't do, and you really need to make adjustments. That does not mean you're a bad technician by any means. That just means that you need to learn from that experience. And learning from your experiences are one of the biggest things that you have as a tool, as a technician, is experience. Once you fix things or you do things maybe wrong once, don't do it a second time. If you don't have comebacks, that's a good point to your bosses, to your employers, and you're going to have integrity, better feeling job, and you're going to be going through your workday so much easier. You're going to get through to the next point in your career a whole lot easier. It's going to make a lot of sense later on. Might not seem that way right off the bat, but later on, you're going to feel good about what you're doing, and you're going to have more drive to keep on going and being a better technician. So that is my list of 5 ways to become a good or better technician for the newer guys coming into the industry. I know I got a little bit ranty there in the end, but I would have to say that's a pretty decent list, building on from what my buddy Junk from Work kind of stated in his video. If you haven't seen it, again, go and watch that one and then come back and maybe rewatch this one. See what you guys think about the two. Make sure you leave a couple of comments down below. If I missed something, if you guys have something to add between our 2 videos, I really wanted to hear what you guys have to say. Maybe some advice for new technicians coming into the industry. Like I said, yes, about the whole tool debt thing, getting, I've made a lot of videos about that one, so that's why I didn't go into a whole lot of detail on that one. But leave a couple of comments down below if you have anything to add to this discussion, or if you're a new technician coming into the industry and if you have some questions, feel free to ask. If you want to ask me personal questions on this subject at any point, you can either message me over on Instagram or get a hold of me by email at therustbeltmechanic@gmail.com. I wanted to shout out to all of my subscribers. The channel is skyrocketing. We're doing amazing here on the channel, and it's all thanks to subscribers like you. For the guys who hit that bell notification and subscribe to the channel, you guys get notified when I come out with cool, awesome content just like this one. We've got great things coming all the time in the way of shop things like this. The Duramax build is keeping on going. We've got some new builds coming up here, probably coming in the spring. More top 5, top 10 lists coming down your way. And of course, nifty tools. Who doesn't like nifty tools? Well, that's about all the information I've got for you today. Thanks, and as always, you guys stay awesome.